A lot of customers ask me, hey, is there any way to get the momentary switch on the left side like I'm familiar with my Spectrums and JRs and whatever radio on the market? Yes, there is. So Radiomaster offers a reverse switch kit for your SF and SH switch. So you can get the F and H here.
Ladies and gentlemen, Basil and Will with Grayson Hobby, and today we're going to show you how to upgrade your Radiomaster switches, and while we're inside, we're also going to update your gimbals. All right, well, before we begin, the biggest question is probably going to ask, does this void the warranty for Radiomaster?
No, so Radiomaster, unlike other companies, they don't void your warranty for opening the radio. Yes, there is a little sticker at the bottom with the QR code. If you open it, it does say void. However, this is a right to repair product. Radiomaster does believe in the end users doing the repairs, doing upgrades, etc. on the radio. Now, if you take it apart, break switches off or break plugs off, stuff like that, put a screw through the board or the screen, yes, that is voided. That does not get covered under warranty from mishandling. So if you have the hands of a caveman, then don't work on the radio.
Okay, like all videos, if you find value in this video, please be sure to subscribe to our channel, give us a thumbs up. And if you're in need for Radiomaster parts, Grayson Hobby is an authorized service center, and we also are authorized dealer. Every little purchase helps, from the radio to the switch. Keeps the videos flowing and the lights on.
Now, if you know anything about the Radiomaster, you'll know that H and G are on one side and F and E are on another board. So those are two separate parts. So both of those switches are included, and it's under 10 bucks for the little kit. You will need a couple tools to get this done. So the tools you'll need to get the radio apart, it's pretty simple. 2.5 millimeter Allen wrench, a 2 millimeter Allen wrench, a 1.5 optional, but if you want to set, actually you don't really need that, but we'll go that in the video. 2.5, a 2, and then a Phillips head screwdriver. This is a 3D printed part that I'm using here in order to get these little grommets off. And in order to get these switch nuts off without scratching them, I'm going to be using something made of plastic. If you don't have anything on hand, you could technically use needle nose pliers, really skinny ones, to get in there to unscrew it. If you're strong enough, you can get it with bare hands. Sometimes you can grip it. You'll see here on this radio that I've actually already done half of it. So while I had it apart, I went ahead and put upgraded gimbals in this one right here. So this side's already been switched over. You'll see I have the momentary here now, whereas before it was a 2-position switch. And this is also a momentary. Cool thing about this kit here is if you don't want any momentary switches at all, if you need extra 2-position switches, you can put half the kit in and make it both 2-position switches. Or if you want 2 momentaries, you can do that as well. So it gives you a little bit of flexibility and make the radio more to what your needs are. It's just another thing that Radiomaster has the ability to do that other companies don't offer.
So it's customizable.
Yes.
Wow.
Wait. And we're not even getting on the button on the back that you can do. But anyways, so let's get this radio apart real quick, and I'll show you guys step by step on how to get the switches out and go from there. So the first thing I'm going to do so we're going to be working on the aileron side here. I'm going to go ahead and loosen these nuts right here, and I'm just going to use this tool and get in there. This is a new one, yes. So right here, I'm just going to unscrew this one here. Unscrew this one here. I'm just going to put them to the side. Now, that's the only two we got to loosen. We don't have to mess with the front ones. And
that's just a switch.
We're going to take that's just to get these switches loose to work on. We're going to take the 2.5 at the top, and what I like to do is back it out to where it's just past flush. Still has the screws left in the radio. That way I can tilt the panel just a hair forward, and I'll be able to get the back of the plate off the radio. So now we got to get the radio apart. So we're going to take the battery door off, get these grip panels off. So you're just going to get underneath the grip panels, pull them out. Right there, so the grip panels are removed to the side. And I like to work on the box of the radio so I don't put any pressure on the switches or gimbals. So in order to take this apart, we'll need to remove 4 2mm screws. So I'm going to fold the arm down. I'm going to unscrew these screws right here. And had I thought about it, I would have taken one of these boxes, just halves. But, but this is what you guys are going to have, so this is what we're going to use. Here. Alright, so we got the 4 screws loose. One of them still in there. I'll push slightly on this to get these little tabs, get that over the tabs. Lift up the radio back plate and to the side, you'll see the rear speaker button and trainer port button. You'll unplug that, and now we can just put this back plate to the side.
Where did that one go?
Right here.
Okay.
All right. So next thing we're going to need is some wire snips to get this zip tie loose to get all these wires free.
Notice we're not going to cut any wires.
I'm not going to cut any wires, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to get that wire snip in there and... Oh, did I not get it all the way?
And if you
there we go.
If you cut your wires, what do you do?
Then you buy new switches.
Okay.
All right. So we got that assembly there. The next thing we're going to do is take this side slider out. So there's a screw in the top and the bottom, and you definitely want to use a skinny magnetic screwdriver if you have one. It's a lot easier. But we're going to loosen these two screws here. I'm not going to take them out. I'm just going to loosen them to where I can get this whole module up. So I'm lifting that up. Oh, there's one screw came. And then I can just unplug it from the main board. You can also unplug it from the back of the slider here. So we're just going to put that to the side, put the screw with it here.
That's the slider, okay.
Put that screw there so I don't forget. All right, so that's that there. Now, in order to get this part out, you can see this vertical switch. We do need to remove the gimbal because it's in the way.
Okay.
So
this is where this one comes into play.
Since we're going to be taking the gimbal out, I figured I'd go ahead and show you guys. Also, I have a lot of people asking how hard it is to put the gimbals in and how hard is it to change. Not hard at all. If you're at this step, you don't need to do any of that. All you need to do is unscrew 4 screws once you have the back plate off.
Okay.
And unplug the harness. So we're going to go ahead and unplug the gimbal harness, which is these set here. And you want to grab all the wires at once, give a consistent pull. Don't yank it, but just a consistent pull, and it'll pop out off the little tab. And then feed the wires out. And then there's 4 Phillips head screws. So we'll just unscrew. Unscrew.
Now, when you do it, I guess you want to make sure your throttle, you don't have 2 throttles.
Yeah. Yeah, so when you have it, remember it's backwards. When the right side is going to be the throttle on the back side, and the left side is going to be the mode. If you're doing mode 2, if you're doing mode 1, then obviously different. But now we got the gimbal out, and we're going to put the new gimbal in the same way we put the old one in, or took the old one out. So just put it right back in there. I'm going to just reuse these screws. It does come with extra screws. I believe they are actually the same length now, unlike the Mark 1s. So we could just reuse those. And this is a TX16 Mark II that we are working on, guys. If you have a Mark 1, you won't have, there'll be some differences on the plugs and all, like the speaker wire and all that, but pretty much the same thing. Now, when you are, let's not do that just yet. Remember, we are changing switches. We are not just installing gimbals. So let's leave that to the side. Kind of jumped the gun a little bit there, sorry. All right, so now the last thing to do is get our reverse switch, and you'll see this has an L on it. This one has an L on the back of it, so we know which is the right side. Gonna unplug it from the board, and then just take it out, and just like that. So now we're gonna put the new one in, and let's see, long switch, I believe, into the back. There we go. So we're gonna just slide that in. Now that's in. We're gonna plug it back in. Push it on the box. All right, so now that's in. At the time, if you want to put the castle nuts back on or whatever, you could, but there's really no need to do it at the moment. Just know it will be loose. So if you're holding up vertically, yeah, then you want to put one on just to hold it. But from here, now we're going to put the side scroller back on and the gimbal in. So we got our new gimbal here. We're going to go ahead and drop it in. We're going to take our screws. I'm going to do this top left corner first because that's usually the one. If you forget it, you're going to wish you didn't because it's harder to get to when you have the side scroller on. So we get that. Now, when you are putting a new screw into plastic or re-screwing into these plastic plates, it's best to drop the screw in, kind of unscrew it a little bit, and let it kind of find the grooves again, and then screw in. That way, you're not forcing new threads into it. Because if you just try to force the new threads into it, you can crack the plastic of these cases. So we're going to put that there, just back up a little bit, and it kind of self-centers and screws, and then goes in. And you don't need to over-tighten it, just tighten until it stops. And then back up here, screw it in, and I'm just going to go back and do this one because I didn't tighten it all the way just in case things didn't line up. So now we're all screwed in there. I'm going to run this wire back over and around. I'm going to run it underneath this one here just to, because that's how it was from the factory. And then we're going to plug it in. Make sure you plug it in the right way. There's little 2 tabs on one side and the little pins on the other. The pins are going to go towards the inside of the board. There are the exposed pins. So you got it plugged in like that. So that's that. Got that out of the way. So now we got our gimbal in, our new switch in. We need to put the side scroller slider back in. And so what I like to do is have it facing down and do the top one first, because the top one's a little harder to get to than the bottom. So we're gonna get that in there. All right, and then screw the bottom one in. Definitely advise doing one side at a time. If you take both sides apart at the same time, you run the risk of mixing things up and getting a little confused, stuff like that. So I would definitely just do one side at a time. And then plug it in. Plus it gives you a reference if you do forget something. You can kind of look back and see where you had. Now it did have a zip tie prior holding these wires. I'm just going to tuck them. It's not really that big of a deal. If you have some zip ties at home, small zip ties, you're more than welcome to zip tie it back up. If you do, don't pull the zip tie too tight. Leave a little slack in it because you don't want to pinch any of the wires or damage any of the wires in these little harnesses. So that's that, other than putting the castle nuts back on. So we're going to go ahead and get this radio button backed up, and then I'll show you in the software where you can change a couple of things too.
So now you just put everything back in reverse.
Yep. So now we're just putting it back together. I'm plugging the speaker back in. And I have not done the switch nuts yet. I'm going to do that towards the end here. Once you get there. And remember, we got to kind of lift that up just a hair. We're not pushing on it, but just a hair, and you can get there. And then that goes back over. That way you don't take these top ones out or loosen them. You can take them out completely, but there's really no need to if you don't have to. And I usually just tighten that one. Tighten that one. And then put the 4 in the back. 2mm. Drop the screw. And again, back up a little bit and then screw it in. It'll find its groove, and it'll screw in. Back up and then screw in. Back up and let it find its groove.
And the last one, right?
Yep. And then we just got the castle, the little switch nuts. Keep calling them castle nuts. But. All right, so the radio's there. Now we can get this box out of the way. And the last thing to do is this. And what I generally do is kind of hold them back up so you can get plenty of threads on there. Drop it on there, and just turn it till it's there. Put the switch in the middle position. There. And you can pretty much tighten these by hand if you really need, if you want to. If you don't,
they'll end up coming loose if you.
They do come
hand.
loose.
I had mine,
but with this little tool here, I can go in and I can group them. And
That's
it
cool.
allows me to get that little bit extra snug on there without scratching the pretty red parts.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
Paid extra for the red. I want to keep it red, not silver. Right?
So that's it.
Then we just got to put the grips back on.
So that's all the hardware. Now we have to go into the software.
Yeah, and I need to grab a battery. All right, so since we did install new gimbals, even though that's not the main purpose of the video, we will need to calibrate the gimbals. I'm going to go ahead and turn this on. It'll probably tell me throttle error or something like that, or some stick error. Yeah, throttle not idle. So if you look here, you'll see these are all out of whack. So what we need to do is go to System, and then go to Calibration. And this is also, I guess, a little mini calibration video too, huh? So we got that, center of the sticks, center of the sliders, center of the pots, and I always just do that in 3. Enter, and then we move the sticks, and you don't have to force them. You just go to the ends, press enter. Calibration is complete. Now the only other thing to do is go through, and we can see our switches. Now our switch F is now momentary, and our switch H is now 2 position. So I'm going to go to F, and you can make that a toggle. And then, what was it? H. Instead of being a toggle, is now a 2 position. But that just helps in the software so it doesn't think it's in other settings that it's looking for a second position instead of a momentary. And that's all there is to that. Set those and you're done.
All right, so there you have it. It's a quick video on how to replace your switches. You can go 1, you can go 2, you can go 1 and 2, and the gimbals. Pretty easy.
So this just allows you more customization, all for the TX16S that's not available on other radios on the market.
All right, there you go.